Football show. And I am joined by Danny Kelly and Craig Horlbeck. Today it is Power Hour, where we power rank something every Wednesday, but we're coming to you right now on Tuesday, live on the Ringer NFL YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the Ringer NFL YouTube channel, where we'll be doing the Power Hour live on Tuesdays every week this season. And today we were power ranking the players we want to see traded to the Kansas City Chiefs, because I feel like every trade candidate, it's just like, can you imagine this guy on the Chiefs, right, Craig?
Yeah, the team that continues to win without Tyreek Hill. We're going to talk about why they should trade for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. DK, we were basically going to be like, oh, let's look at all these players who could realistically be traded, specifically all these receivers who could get dealt. But no, it's just we're like, oh, imagine this guy in Kansas City. Imagine that guy in Kansas City.
This has been, it's been like this for, well, I don't know, 5 years or something like that. Everyone just wants to imagine there's receivers with Patrick Mahomes, even though Mahomes has sort of turned into a check down king over the last year or so. So I don't know. This is a little bit tongue in cheek, but we actually do want to see these guys get traded to the Chiefs.
So yeah, obviously Rashee Rice has this knee injury for the Chiefs, which he's torn ACL out for the season, or not.
Maybe not.
And they haven't confirmed it. Maybe it's an MCL for. I don't know what the delay is. We'll see.
Super weird. I feel like it's not a torn ACL. They would know that unless it's more than a torn. It's like 3 torn things, and they can't. But like usually, they get hurt on Monday morning. It is confirmed torn ACL, surgery soon. It's very odd that they're like, we'll check back in a few days, maybe next week.
So a lot of, analysts will be like, well, I'm not a doctor, but I am a doctor. I'm actually a licensed.
That's right.
I'm a medical practitioner. And basically, from what I understand, they do the little leg test. That's an industry term. They do the little leg test on the ACL. And they're like, well, we have to confirm it.
They use the little hammer.
It's like, does the leg move?
Your reflexes. Yeah.
Yeah. And if ACL, no movement. And so they're like, all right, we can't tell you it's a torn ACL, but when you do the test tomorrow, it's going to tell you that test was right. And like 99 out of 100 times, they can tell the person if it's an ACL like that day. And this is the 100th out of 100 time where either they don't know if it's an ACL, or the Chiefs are just like a fantasy manager in total and utter denial about it. I can't really tell which. So, but as soon as we don't know about Rashee Rice goes down, turns out Davante Adams wants to be traded. So you know what? Suspicious timing.
Suspicious, yes.
Is this all because Antonio Pierce liked a picture on Instagram saying that Davante Adams might have played his last game in Las Vegas?
Yeah, so we'll get to the power in a moment, but I do want to just lay the little groundwork here with the Davante Adams, who kind of inspired this episode as well. And a lot of Kay Adams at FanDuel asked Davante Adams, a lot of people think you may never play another down as a Raider. How would you respond to that? And Davante Adams said, all I can control is this talk we're having here, and then the next thing I'm on to. And 1 hour later, it was reported Davante Adams had requested a trade. And so I guess that was very much the thing.
He would prefer to be traded.
He would prefer to be traded. With Bartleby, the Scrivener.
Yeah.
So I kind of love, he's like, yeah, I can control this talk here, and then the next thing I'm on to. And then the next thing he was on to was, I would like a trade. But yeah. Was
this real that Antonio Pierce liked an Instagram post? Is that a real thing, or are you joking about that? I've heard this with players a ton, but I've never heard this with a coach before.
I don't think that's why he wanted to trade, but that was the thing that happened.
I'm sure it didn't help. I don't know why. I don't understand. Is this like a boomer thing? Why do people like stuff on Instagram? Don't they know it's public? I don't understand. There was a whole article on The Cut last week called "Why Do Men Comment on Porn Sites?"
Oh my God! Yeah,
Why do you, if there's a pretty woman on Instagram, you don't have to like the photo. You still get to see it, even if you don't like it. I don't understand.
You guys have friends who like the Sydney Sweeney pictures? Yeah. And then you're like, what are you doing?
Some people just want to be in a part of a community, Craig. There's a community of people. Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
Like-minded people, they were liking the same types of things on those porn sites. You're just finding people that are into the same. There's no difference between that and Reddit, Craig. Right.
So Antonio Pierce was in search of a community of people. That's what he was doing by liking the photo. Okay.
Honestly, thank God Antonio Pierce was liking the post about I don't want Davante Adams on the team, as opposed to imagine if he just liked some thirst trap, then maybe maybe Davante Adams actually would have stayed. Maybe it was a mistake.
It really blows my mind. I wouldn't have. If I were a famous person, I would make sure my phone wasn't allowed to like anything.
The other thing that I find that's very interesting about this Davante Adams situation is, do you remember, I think it was last week, Antonio Pierce, the head coach, said something about he saw some of his players making business decisions out there.
When they were down 30.
Right. And there's like a conspiracy going around now, which I love, and I'm all in on, that Antonio Pierce was referencing Davante Adams in that comment, and that Davante Adams' reaction to that comment was to make a business decision and have an injured hamstring right after that, and like basically not play for the Raiders ever again. So, oh, I love that. This is the best.
I
It's
think we could
perfect.
take the conspiracy off. I think that's just a pretty good theory. I don't know if it has to be
It's just like a
conspiracy
logical theory. Yeah,
It's just like again, I think even when we think an injury might be a little questionable, I think 99 times out of 100, we're like, yeah. And this one, I'm like, yeah, hamstring's probably fine.
Makes a lot of sense.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Business decision. So yeah, I think so. In honor of this Davante Adams trade request, Instagram like fiasco.
Oh,
What
that was in the
Wow, is
wild.
that natural?
Another one.
Fiasco?
It's fiasco. Yeah.
Fiasco.
I like fiasco. It's more fancy.
I think it's better.
I do
It's a
too.
little bougie.
I wish I had thought of that the first time I did it, to just be
Yeah.
like, actually, I like it my way, like
Yeah.
Lord of War, like Bath of
Yeah, I prefer it my way.
prefer it
Yeah.
my way. Yeah. So we're gonna go through and we're gonna do this power style. We're gonna power rank a bunch of players we want to see on the Chiefs. And we're like, again, it's tongue in cheek. We're like, we know these guys aren't gonna go to the Chiefs. I know the Raiders. The Raiders, I genuinely think the Raiders would have Davante Adams sit out the rest of his entire contract before they sent him to the Kansas City Chiefs, who are their division rival, who've kicked their butts for 8. I mean, the Chiefs have 8 division titles in a row. So
That's
they're not
kinda
going to send him to the
stupid.
Chiefs.
That's kind of stupid in my opinion. I get it. Maybe if you're Mark Davis, like you're petty and you don't want to send a team in a division, but like the Raiders suck. They're not just playing against the Chiefs. They're playing against 31 teams in the league. If you can get a good deal to send them to the Chiefs, who cares? You're not going to be competing with the Chiefs anyway in the next 4 years.
But that's
You can
not
get
like
a second rounder. Yeah.
But it's like, what do you? Yeah, in theory, but you're like, you're
They're
not
the
competing
worst
with the
team in
Chiefs.
the league. Who cares who you trade him to? You're not competing with any of these teams.
But
right
it's your
now.
division rival. Like you're
Who
by
cares?
definition, you're
You're not
competing with them.
rivals. To me,
I
the definition of a
agree.
rival is like if two teams are somewhat equal in skill. These are
I
not
ag-
rivals.
Yeah,
I'm
this
not-
is different than the Bills thing, where the Bills are giving the Chiefs their chief rival in the conference
like me
a good
playing
player.
Pick
Yeah.
up basketball against my 9-year-old cousin. We are not rivals because I will beat him every time, 12-0 in a game.
Right.
But the Raiders beat the Chiefs on Christmas, like last year, and so like the Raiders are like, yeah, we could beat them, and then you're like, oh, actually, we'll give them our best player because he's mad. It's just
I
a
don't
hard
know.
thing to do. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm saying it's hard for people to admit that.
It's bad optics for the team,
I
if
think
anything.
it's worse
Like,
optics if it comes out that the best offer came from Kansas City and you denied it because you were petty.
Well, I mean, but teams do this. You're right. I mean, there's a whole thing to this because you could argue it's better to like give them an aging player and like take a pick from them and then hope that your windows don't align. I agree with that. But the reality is it's not even divisions. Teams don't want to trade for stuff in the conference because there's also CYA, cover your ass to it, of like the Rams and Goff. Like teams generally don't even want to send a quarterback in the conference because they're like, well, on the off chance that guy beats us in the playoffs, I'll lose my job. And obviously Sean McVay didn't because they won the Super Bowl. But like other people with less job security are just like, if I do that and it bites me in the ass, like I'm done. So there's a certain element of that to it. And then just competitiveness. Like teams don't make even draft trades. Like the Eagles and Cowboys have made some deals in the draft, but teams in the same cities won't do it. The Giants and Jets won't even make trades. You know what I mean? Like teams, and this is every sport. The Knicks and Nets, when they traded for McCall Bridges, the Knicks and Nets had not made a trade in like 50 years.
Yeah, I think that's dumb. To be honest.
didn't the Vikings and Packers make a couple trades over the offseason?
Yeah,
Or
the
am I making that up?
Lions and Vikings made a pick. I think the Jameson Williams thing was, but it's an exception that proves the rule. It's like that was like the teams making trades with the divisions. It's so rare to make a trade in the division. And I think that in theory, it's like competitiveness, but then you go through and you're like also fear. Because what if you're wrong and then you're fired? Because
I get it. I get good teams not wanting to trade good players to other good teams. But if you were a bottom 5 team in the league with an aging 31-year-old superstar and you can get a good deal for him, I don't see why you wouldn't just trade him to the highest bidder.
Well, I think that's the other thing with Davante Adams is like, what are you going to get for him? And when we do this power, I want to talk through teams, but what are you going to get? The Raiders. So Adam Schefter has said for Davante Adams, Raiders have informed other teams they would consider trading receiver Davante Adams for a package that would include a second-round pick and additional compensation, which means that, I mean, that's basically just dropping in the group chat. They're like, hey, we'll take a second-round pick. It's like Adam Schefter might as well be the classifieds right now, which means they're not going to get a second-round pick for Davante.
They'll get a third. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they would take a third.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Keenan Allen went for fourth. That's super similar. So I think, yeah, let's do the power hour and let's get to the power and let's just go through a bunch of these guys and we think we could be traded. And again, if you don't know what we're talking about right now, it's your first time. We're gonna do this power hour style. So every couple minutes, you're gonna hear this sound.
Man, that's good. Never gets old.
Pure bliss. Pure bliss. And yeah, so we're gonna go through a bunch of receivers we want traded to the Chiefs. And again, I know a lot of these guys won't be traded to the Chiefs, but I do think these guys can be traded and might be traded, except for a couple of them we just won't be, but we want them to. So starting with number 1 on power ranking receivers we want traded to the Chiefs, Davante Adams for the Raiders. We know he's not going to go to the Chiefs, as we just said.
Yeah.
So in terms of the list of teams where, like, all right, the Raiders want to trade, he wants to trade. Where's he going to go? Like you have to, the Jets, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then outside of, if you're the Jets and you're like, should you like be at an offer? Who else is trading for Davante Adams? I'm stretching. I think the entire list of teams that would even seriously talk about it are Washington, the Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Dallas. And I think that's a stretch.
Did you say the Pittsburgh?
Did I?
Maybe not.
The Pittsburgh.
Did you mention Dallas? I feel like Dallas.
I said
we could throw in there. I think
I said Dallas, but
yeah.
Stephen Jones said a day ago, we're not making any calls at the deadline. So
yeah, but lying is the best. You know,
that's true. Lying's sick. Honestly, Davante Adams. They probably could use Davante Adams, but
I mean, they among all these teams, I feel like really need a number 2. The Jets make a ton of sense, obviously, because of the Brady thing, or sorry, because of the Aaron Rodgers thing. Yeah, Pittsburgh. Do you think Davante Adams would want to play with Justin Fields? I don't know.
No, I think he's like a little bit redundant to kind of Pickens. I think the Steelers need more of like an inside slot type of guy that we can get to later on in the show. But no,
I agree. I think that
makes sense.
Steelers were in on Brandon Ayuk because in part he's 5 years younger, and also he blocks his ass off. He's physical. He does all these things in the run game that I think Pittsburgh and Arthur Smith would be excited about. Davante Adams is 31. He's too old for that shit. He's not going in to block for Najee Harris 25 times a game. He's not doing that.
No, and it's like he was pissed with Jimmy Garoppolo as his quarterback on that Netflix receiver show. It would take like one bad Justin Fields hospital ball for Davante Adams to just like rage quit on the Steelers.
I do actually think the Jets should trade for Davante Adams. And like, I'm not going to lie, even like 2 weeks ago, I kind of thought that was silly and crazy that would happen. But I'm like, you know what? The Jets, like Breaking Bad, no half measures, Walter. Just go get him. Like you're so all in on the Rodgers thing. Just get Davante. Garrett Wilson's chirping Aaron Rodgers today. I saw that on a podcast. Garrett Wilson's like, oh, is this offense going to work? I don't know.
Just asking questions.
Is receiver really the problem for the Jets? I feel like they have solid receivers and pass catching running backs. I don't know. Is that really the issue for the Jets?
No, but everyone's going to get fired if you don't win. So.
Also, I will say real quick, if Davante Adams gets traded, Jacoby Myers would be like a really stealth great pickup for fantasy football.
I don't think Davante's playing again for a while. I think Jacoby Myers is an incredible player going forward. And Brock Bowers, I would kill to get Brock Bowers in any fantasy team.
Last week, 45% of the first read targets went to Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
He's a sneaky good player.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2 on the list of players we would like to see traded to the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill, receiver for the Dolphins.
Why not?
Once upon a time, the Chiefs.
Yeah. This one, I think, it feels a little bit like a pipe dream. I think there's, there are issues with his contract. He just renegotiated a contract or remade it. But I saw this from Jason at Over the Cap. Basically, it would only cost $1.7 million to trade for Tyreek Hill this year. It's basically a matter of how much are the Chiefs willing to give up to get a guy like Tyreek back. And so, I mean, I don't know. The Dolphins, they are 1-3 right now. The vibes are atrocious. We don't know for sure if Tua is coming back. Adam Schefter did note today that he believes Tua will come back in like week 8. So that might change things, and like they just end up kind of like trying to get through this the next few weeks until Tua gets back. But the Dolphins offense right now is non-functional. Tyreek is on the sideline, really upset. Like the vibes are really out of control bad, and maybe they're just trying to like move on from that situation. So I don't know. I think this would obviously be the most fun one because of the history there, but I don't know if the Chiefs want it back either.
This won't happen, but honestly, it should. Like it should.
And it would be even funnier if they trade for Tyreek Hill and then they don't win the Super Bowl. So like they won
after winning it twice. Yeah.
You win it twice without him. Yeah. And then you just get Tyreek and then you lose. I know I know we're probably overreacting to Monday Night Football. We're recording this Tuesday, Monday night. The Dolphins, they had a stretch with 9 quarters. They had 9 points. They had an 85-yard drive at the end of that game for Miami. And then their previous 10 drives had gained 84 yards. And if you look at Miami, I'm like, oh, Tua back in week 8. Are they going to be 1-6 at that time? And I don't know. Tyreek's, I know it's a little nuts because the whole offense is around Tyreek, right? Well, he's going to be third. This season seems like it's done. Next year, Tyreek's going to be 31. How long will he be the fastest player in the league? Like, there is a conversation about whether he should, at what point do you just take a second back and like try to recoup some of this? I know you probably can't do it if you're a Miami fan, but like, I don't know. Like, the Miami's in a really weird spot. Team's a mess.
Yeah.
All right. Next up here, we have Amari Cooper, the receiver for the Cleveland Browns, as another trade.
100%. This one makes a lot of sense. The Browns basically converted Amari Cooper's contract to make him basically you basically only have to give him $1 million to trade for him right now. He's definitely going to want a new deal, so you would have to like bake that into signing him wherever he goes. But I think Amari Cooper still got it. I think Chiefs, Steelers, Jets, Cowboys would be hilarious. Commanders. This is like a no-brainer.
Commanders.
I feel like other than Davante, Amari is the most likely to be traded. I mean, the Browns are 1-3. They're the worst team in the division. The whole offense is a disaster. I don't think it makes sense for them at all to give Amari Cooper a brand new contract as he enters. I think he's 30 years old. So to me, Amari on the Chiefs, let's do it.
I think Amari Cooper's played really well because it's weird because he's just had a bunch of drops, but he's getting open. It's not even close. He's fantastic. We were talking about how he plays through injuries. I mean, Amari, ironically, I feel like Washington, DK, I agree with the sound you just made. Ironically, also, I still look at Dallas and I'm amazed that Dallas ever gave up Amari Cooper for a 6th-round pick right before, like, they gave him up like, oh, we can't pay Amari Cooper $19 million, and then Christian Kirk got $17 million like 2 weeks later. So ironically, Dallas could do it too. But yeah, if you're Cleveland, you're not far away from looking at as this whole thing is just a mess. So I think Cooper, I think he's the guy on this list that he will get. I think he's most likely to get traded. I think that he's kind of everything you want. And he's also not one of those diva receivers who like demands the ball all the time. He's not as much of a headache to play with. Can you do a 1-year rental for him? How would it work? Like, the Texans are essentially doing like 1 year of Diggs. He accepted $20 million for 1 year, and then we'll see what happens. You can't really do that, right? Because to give Cooper a 1-year deal, that would actually apply to next year, right? Yeah. So, I mean, it would be a rental. You would be taking him for the rest of the season. Which happened to him early in his career. The Raiders sent him, I think, midseason to the Cowboys, and he played incredibly. But you'd have to sign him for the rest of this year as well as next year, right? If you were to give him like a 1-year guaranteed deal. No, his deal, no, you would just have him for the rest of the season, and then he could play out his contract. He could play out what he's already on. Got it. But he wants a deal. So that's kind of the question. But yeah, I think a lot of teams could use Amari Cooper. Next up, we have DeAndre Hopkins, receiver for the Titans. This is kind of just the 2019 All-Pro team. So right. Davante Adams, Tyreek Hill, Amari Cooper, and Hopkins. But DK, what do you think of this one? I feel like of all the guys who've fallen off for this season, I feel like Hopkins is right there because he started the season hurt. But now he's playing. He's back. Yeah. I mean, right now the Titans are 1-3. They are definitely looking at being a run-heavy team, like with the quarterback situation that they have going right now. Levis is hurt. Rudolph is not the answer in terms of the backup there, and they're still ramping Hopkins up. He's 33 years old. He's been working back from a preseason knee injury, ramping up. If you look at his routes per team drop back over the last 4 weeks, it started out week 1, 23%, 51%, 50, and 59%. And then his target rate has jumped up in every single game, now to 22% this last game. So he's getting close to, I think, back to full speed and at least whatever speed he is now in terms of 33-year-old DeAndre Hopkins. He was never all that fast. But he's another guy, I think $7 million rest of the season, according to Jason Fitzgerald. I don't know. He's a possession guy. Do you guys think he fits well on the Chiefs, or do you think this doesn't make a lot of sense, like the type of offense they run? My first question was, is he too slow at this point to be on the field with Kelsey at the same time? And I'm like, well, damn, man, they're going to put Juju out there. Juju's probably one of the slowest receivers in the NFL right now. I'm like, I'd rather have Hopkins than Juju. The only benefit's Juju knows all the plays and the names. Yeah, I think Hopkins is probably the most risky. I believe he tore his MCL at the beginning of the season. He's just playing with it at 33 years old. And he's not getting any faster. DeAndre Hopkins, I feel bad. I feel like his entire career has been like slightly unlucky. He's always on bad teams that just like keep getting worse. He's basically just gone to worse teams throughout his entire career. The second he got traded to Tennessee, I was just like, man, really? Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins is going to the Titans, and it never worked out. Purgatory. I feel like Hopkins would be a great fit for the Jets. I mean, if they can't do the Davante Adams thing, I feel like he would mesh well with Rodgers, the way that he runs his offense, the way that he kind of like changes everything at the line of scrimmage.
Just get open and I'll throw it to you.
It's
And like you know,
timing, back shoulder stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Also, he'd be like the 4th player on that team who's 33 years old on the offense.
This is like one last job, the entire team.
Yeah, just the whole thing's the Expendables. Yeah, they're just like, it's a crew. It's just
there's more like fake
elderly
ligaments in the limbs of the players on the Jets than real ligaments.
Cadavers, yeah.
Yeah, cadaver ligaments. Yeah.
I just had a horrible thing. Oh my god, that was a terrible thought. Wait, do the ligaments come from dead people when they repair
Sometimes.
an ACL?
I mean, I don't know. I think
Tommy John does, I believe.
Tommy John, but when they repair an ACL, does that ACL come?
No, I thought they just. I don't know what I'm talking about. I thought they just tied it back together.
I thought the
Craig,
Tom. Yeah,
just pretend you know, Craig. Just pretend you know. Come on.
I'm a medical practitioner, so I'm supposed to know.
That's
No, the Tommy John one, I thought they take it from your thigh or something, or did they used to take it from dead people, or did they used to take it from your thigh and now they take it from dead people?
I thought it was a dead guy's elbow ligament in your arm, and then ACL, they just pull it back together and tie it.
Dude, that's kind of like sampling a song. Like if you win a Super Bowl of someone else's ligament, like you should send that family, like, you know.
As long as it's like it's only a certain length you can put in a person's body to,
or you have to start paying royalties. Yeah. Body right infringement. That's what we'll call it.
Email us at rigorfantasyfootball@gmail.com if you are a doctor or surgeon and can answer any of the, I'm sure, deeply offensive.
I also feel like that's a very, that's a quick Google.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better not to Google. Yeah.
Heifetz has
That
shown
one I'm
us
not Googling live.
Heifetz has shown us that a quick Google is potentially not always accurate.
What did I do wrong?
There's some chatter online about your moon trivia.
Oh yeah, we'll come back to that later.
Oh, yeah, I demand a recount.
Okay, so next up, next receiver we want traded to the Chiefs or somewhere. Christian Kirk, receiver for the Jaguars.
Yeah, this one would be fun. Like you said earlier, Heifetz, I remember when Christian Kirk like reset the wide receiver market and everybody freaked out.
Like, he got paid and every receiver in the NFL was like, he got what?
Yeah.
They just called their agent.
And now, 3 years later, now he's like making Jerry Jeudy money.
Jerry Jeudy's making more than him. Yeah,
he is a little bit more. So now this is like kind of a friendly deal. Christian Kirk, I think, is like a really solid player. I don't think he's a number one on a team. I think he's like a good number 2 or 3 on a good team.
Slot.
Yeah, he's only 27 years old. I think he would make perfect sense in a place like Kansas City.
That's not true.
27 years old, Christian Kirk.
Get out of here.
Yep. It's his name. His name is 33, but he's 27.
My God.
Yeah. I think like Steelers, Chiefs make perfect sense for a guy. Security blanket, slot, a guy you can lean on third down. And there's no reason Jacksonville is going to blow it all up. Peterson's gone. Balky's gone. They're going to they need to restart. They just drafted a great wide receiver in Brian Thomas. Like they don't need Christian Kirk.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure like producer Carlos listening to me talk about the Dolphins should blow it up and he's probably gonna like lose his mind. But the Jaguars, it's obvious they're 0-4. They're gonna fire Doug Peterson. But it's the whole staff. Like you look at Trent Baalke, who just is like the most football guy of all GM. Like he just has done a terrible job at the Jaguars front office. Like they drafted all these first round picks in the first 5 years. None of these guys have been developed into good players. And so you got to restart. So like, yeah, I mean, you should trade Christian Kirk and then like get more draft capital. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, frankly, all the Jaguars, we've talked about how all the Jaguars free agent signings were just guys they played really well against them. Like Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, Evan Ingram. These are all people who played great against Jacksonville. And then they just signed them later. Like that's the entirety of their scouting.
That's like the most I could be a GM like thing of all time is like,
oh, Christian Kirk, he had 120 yards against us, right? Sign him. Only 100-yard game of the whole season was against them. Same with Gabe Davis. They are only people who allow an 80-yard touchdown.
Same with Harbaugh, right? With J.K. Dobbins in college.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins had like 200 yards against him at Ohio State versus Michigan, and 6 years later, he's like, sign J.K.
I love that.
God. It's funny for like coaches to hire coaches they know, but it's even funnier to hire players who like they saw play well against them that one day.
There's a lot of that goes into scouting, guys. We're all human beings here.
Oh my God. All right, next up, DK, we got Courtland Sutton, receiver from the Broncos. Another guy that actually should probably be traded.
I mean, I don't know if the Broncos will do this because it's detrimental to their rookie quarterback because Courtland Sutton has been the guy that has Bo Nix's trust and like basically he's been his security blanket. But, you know, going back to the preseason and in the offseason over the summer, Courtland Sutton was really disappointed because he wanted to get a new contract. Maybe he's a little bit trying to pressure them to move him along and basically find a good team. I think he still got it. He passes the eye test for me. He's still a really good player.
How old is he? Is he like 28?
He's not very old. Let me look that up. But I mean, I think
Courtland Sutton's actually next week is his birthday.
Oh, what age?
He's 28, so he'll be 29.
Okay.
That's definitely getting up there in age, but he's never been, again, like he's a type of player where speed and explosiveness were never really his game. It's like he catches contested catches. He's really good around the sideline. Russell Wilson had like a great chemistry with him last year, and that's the type of receiver he is, where he doesn't really need to be open to catch the ball. So I think the Broncos also have just like a logjam of young receivers that they need to get on the field eventually at some point.
Just people Sean Payton hates.
Yeah, like Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin. They really like this Devon Vele guy. They signed Josh Reynolds, who I think can kind of take over for what Sutton is doing. Like they're similar type of players. So
Sean Payton's always had a fetish for 7th round players and undrafted players. Like even go back to like the original Saints team. He just loves an undrafted player.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think if the Broncos realize rightly that they're not true contenders, I think the problem is their defense is so good they might think they're contenders, but I don't know. I think Courtland Sutton at this point is not going to be on your team long term. You might as well trade him, get something in return. And again, I don't know if he'd be like the best fit on the on the Chiefs, but I think he'd be the type of guy that would fit in a lot of teams right now. If as we near the trade deadline, somebody who needs another weapon, number 2 guy. I like Courtland Sutton a lot still.
Yeah. Come to the Steelers. Every single one of these receivers come to the Steelers.
Yeah, I think there's I don't think there's any chance Sutton goes to the Chiefs, just again for the divisional factor, and also Sean Payton's burning hatred for like the idea that Andy Reid has all these recent Super Bowls and Sean Payton does not. And they gave him a real raise, so he's under contract next year too. But it's funny because I feel like the Broncos were going to trade Courtland Sutton for 3 years in a row and didn't, and now yeah. So
you know who a sneaky wide receiver team remains? The Patriots. During the offseason, they tried to sign a bunch of veterans. They went hard at Calvin Ridley, didn't make it. And they definitely need a guy that's going to help out their rookie quarterback. So that's a sneaky team to watch.
It's not bad. All right, so it's kind of like, again, as we've shown between the Jaguars and how they sign free agents and all these people, it's super different NFL teams, how they run it versus your fantasy team. Also, it's exactly the same process. It's basically the exact same thing. And just like when you pull up a different team's roster and you're like, ooh, I could have their best player. No, they probably want to keep him. Second best player. Oh, they want to keep him. And then you're like, all right, now you're on their bench. And this is that portion where you're like, all right, who are they actually going to give me? These are the people I think Kansas City actually can acquire for a reasonable price.
Yeah.
Starting with number 7, Treylon Burks, the receiver from the Tennessee Titans.
Hell yeah. I know this is like kind of, we've reached the like dark web 4 a.m. chat room version of Power Hour.
If anyone's like, oh, they wouldn't trade Adams and Tyreek, it's like, well, that's what you're thinking when you look at someone's roster, and then you're like, all right, they'll actually give me this guy.
You're like, all right, Treylon Burks. I mean, Treylon Burks is an afterthought. But this dude, I'm still convinced. I still am sold by the highlights of him, his rookie year, of him in college at Arkansas. Like, look, Rashee Rice was definitely a very good, productive player who did a lot of things well. But like, part of me is kind of like, could Treylon Burks do what Rashee Rice does? Like, kind of maybe.
Craig, this is the question that we always ask with, like where quarterbacks land in the draft. Like if so-and-so quarterback had landed on the Jets, for instance, or, whatever, the Browns, like how different their career is if they land with a different team. Like Treylon Burks, I think, can run the routes that Rashee Rice is running. He's probably not as good as Rashee Rice, almost surely not as good as Rashee Rice, because Rashee Rice
probably
is good.
Not. Yeah, probably not.
Like this is the truther version of the program, and I'm still a little bit of a Treylon Burks truther. I think he's a terrible fit for what the Titans want him to do. They're like trying to turn him into an outside X receiver. He was a slot receiver in college.
They basically just sub him in for Hopkins when they want to run, and he just blocks.
I'm coming up on a decade covering the NFL, and I can say that Treylon Burks in the entire time is the only player that I know the team hated. The head coach hated him from the moment they turned the card in for the draft.
Yeah.
Like Mike Vrabel, like they traded AJ Brown. DK, you joke about this all the time. Mike Vrabel hated Treylon Burks' guts the entire time.
Wrong kid died.
Wrong kid died. And it's like the new coach, the new GM, all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's a perfect thing of just get him to a new team, get him off the freaking Tennessee Titans.
Sometimes, like, look, most of the time, a change of scenery is not good enough for like these guys that have, become busts in the NFL. Treylon Burks right now hasn't done anything really. And most of the time it doesn't work out. But like of all the people in the NFL that I think need a change of scenery, I think he would be like near the top of my list. everything that's gone wrong for him, that could go wrong for him, has gone wrong. Like he showed up the first day of training camp out of shape. He's like puking on the sideline. He can't finish his practice for the first like 2 weeks of training camp. And his head coach hated him, was like really mad because they traded AJ Brown away, and this is the guy they gave me. And like shortly after that, there was like a power struggle between coach and GM. Like, I don't know. There's just a million things that have gone wrong, and he's gotten hurt a couple of times. So yeah, just get this guy to a different team and see what he can do. Obviously odds are he's not going to work out, but I still like him.
Pittsburgh. Come to Pittsburgh.
Run after the catch. Put him in the slot and let him run after the catch. He's not an X receiver.
Of all the people, like in all seriousness, Andy Reid and Brett Veach, the coach and GM of the Chiefs, are having a conversation at some point this week, if not every day, about this. And I would be stunned if Treylon Burks they didn't have. Like they will talk about it.
Do you think they're watching right now? Are they in the chat?
Yeah, Andy. What do you want to say to Andy or Brett?
Which one's the burner? Yeah.
I have figured out, actually, I figured out this week, if, I've never interviewed Bill Belichick, but I figured out this week what I would ask him. I don't know. Should I keep that in the back pocket or should I throw it out now?
I think you could throw it out now.
So I saw this video, I don't know what show it. Bill O'Brien was doing an interview somewhere, and Bill O'Brien, and it's also funny because Bill O'Brien, he worked for Belichick and Nick Saban for like 12 of the 20 years, and he's the only guy who didn't win a title with either of them. And so, which is just
classic.
But Bill O'Brien was telling a story about the first year he worked for the Patriots. And then he's telling the story, and he's like, yeah, we signed Matt Castle, and Matt came in, and Matt, he was a real straight shooter, he's a joker, and you know how Bill never wore socks, right? And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, so Bill Belichick never wore socks, ever.
What?
He didn't wear socks, and he would take shoes off in meeting rooms.
That's tough.
And I kind of want to just ask him about that.
I would say working as the head coach of an NFL team, working for an NFL team, being on the field, probably a bottom 5 profession to not wear socks in, right?
Yeah, it's like the worst possible. Yeah, he's outside
all day. It's hot, sweating all day.
Craig, you know the scene from Dune where the Reverend Mother, like the Bene Gesserit lady, makes the main character guy put his hand in the box and not pull it out? That's like, if you can go into the meeting room and not puke with Bill Belichick, you pass the test.
They smell his feet. And
putting your nose in his shoe for 3 minutes.
It's too much.
Also, I thought the craziest thing about that clip of Bill O'Brien was that he's like, everybody knows Matt Castle, hilarious, jokester.
Yeah, totally.
Class clown. We all know that about Matt Castle. I was like, I did not know that about Matt Castle. He would have been at the bottom of my list of guys.
I can't even imagine a class clown in a Patriots meeting room. How would that go over?
I know. I didn't think they allowed those.
Feet. They have to bend the knee and smell the feet. That's that's how he breaks the people. That's why Gronk didn't go back.
Brady's like, I got to get out of here.
Dude, imagine Belichick on a plane. Stuff. Imagine Belichick on the plane ride home after a game.
Yeah.
Pops those things off.
You're taking in particles.
Like steaming.
You're taking particles when you smell something, right? Of the thing. How much of Bill Belichick's feet do you think Tom Brady's like breathed into his head over 20
Maybe
years?
that was part of TB12. Maybe that was kind of the secret sauce.
Well,
you don't know.
That's good playability. All right, next up. Next receiver we want to see traded to the Chiefs. Elijah Moore, receiver for the Browns.
Why not? Why not?
I just, again, it's going back to what we said about
in there.
Cooper.
You got yourself a stew going.
Still going. Again, the Chiefs are going to call the Browns about Amari Cooper. And the Browns are going to do the pawn shop meme. Was like, best I could do is Elijah Moore. And you know what? Here's the thing. Like, I like Elijah Moore. I think he's like the Treylon Burks, where I'm like, yeah, no, year 5 breakout incoming. But dude, all right, Elijah Moore's dad, who's like very active, like very much, an involved AAU dad who tweets a lot, like an Odell Beckham. Your dad, I'm so glad he's supportive of you. I probably should tweet less. But he literally tweeted yesterday, Elijah Moore's dad tweeted that, everyone please stop about the trade talk. This is the best situation Elijah Moore's ever been in the NFL. This is the best situation. The one where Deshaun Watson is the worst success rate of any Browns quarterback ever. But it's true. Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Mike White, Josh Johnson, Zach Wilson, Jeff Driscoll. Those are the people who've thrown Elijah Moore a pass.
Yeah, he's like maybe the Sam Darnold of wide receivers.
Yes,
we don't know.
He is the Sam Darnold of receivers.
I think I'm out.
No, I'm in. I'm in.
Loved Elijah Moore 2 years ago.
I know,
DK.
but it's
what changed? The
2 years
Deshaun Watson?
Ago. What changed? He didn't do anything the last 2 years.
That's my point with Deshaun Watson. He sucks.
Okay.
I'm with Heifetz here. Elijah Moore has popped more than he should have with the quarterbacks he's been with in his career.
I mean, I want to believe, but
Elijah,
I
and that's
can't.
the thing.
I just don't. In my heart
and
of hearts.
We're talking about all these other guys being in contract years, and it's like those guys want a big deal. Elijah Moore, he probably would be happy too to go play with freaking Patrick Mahomes, and he will do what Hollywood Brown did, except he's like, yeah, I probably need to rebuild my career. And like Hollywood Brown had to prove he could stay healthy. Elijah Moore just needs to prove he could do anything. And I'm like, yeah, if Kadarius Toney could score 2 touchdowns on 5 touches in the Super Bowl, Elijah Moore, at least he can know where to line up.
Speaking of,
Toney is on the Browns.
Toney.
When did that happen?
He's on their practice squad, I believe.
I have a mental block on his whereabouts.
You think the Chiefs are reaching out about Toney? Knows the playbook.
Interesting.
Healthy. Just saying. Want a ring with him? Culture guy?
Yeah, real culture guy.
I hate that guy. Okay. Next guy, number 9. Players who should be traded to the Chiefs. I know these are all receivers, but honestly, right now, breaking the rule. Dameon Pierce, running back for the Texans.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I think it's very clear that Dameon Pierce is just a terrible scheme fit for what the Texans are doing with Bobby Slowick, the outside zone. He just doesn't. Some running backs just don't really get it in terms of like the way they run that scheme. It's just not supernatural to them, and that's like been the story all along with. The Shanahan family tree of offenses, they tend to get these random guys that just are really good at running that scheme and having a good feel for when to make their cuts and when to cut back against the grain, that kind of thing. Dameon Pierce is just not that good at this. Where he excels more and where he looked really good his rookie year was in a gap scheme. And so if you look at some of the teams that run gap the most, I saw this according to Fantasy Points, the Cardinals, Titans, Jags, Rams, Patriots, Ravens, Giants, Packers, Chiefs, Broncos, and actually another team I really like for him is the Chargers. Those teams run gap schemes like more than the other teams, at a higher rate than other teams in the NFL. And so I don't know. The 3 teams that I kind of bolded here, the Jags, the Chiefs, and the Chargers.
Dameon Pierce, after his rookie season, I was convinced he was going to be a top 10, top 5.
I thought he was going to be a star. Yeah.
Running back.
Yeah, I agree. I like this one a lot. And on the surface, it doesn't make any sense because he's got a hamstring injury and the Texans have all these banged up running backs where Joe Mixon has the high ankle. And then, obviously Pierce is banged up, but I'm kind of looking at this. And
Cam
I'm
Akers,
like, Cam Akers. Yeah. And Cam Akers is your healthy running back. That's not good. But I agree, DK, because it's your point. Joe Thomas, the left tackle, he's seen Hall of
future
Fame
Hall of Famer for sure. Yeah.
He once described the Shanahan system as like it's your computer. It's everything's a 0 or 1. You have to do it exact though. So like that, you can play faster that way, but there's no freestyling. You do it exact. Everyone has to do exactly what you're supposed to do. And so running back like Dameon Pierce, I don't know exactly what it is, but I think sometimes like if you see red on runs and all the time, it's like no, it's like you have to do exactly how they want you to do it with no room for creativity. And I think that Dameon Pierce on part of me thinks JJ Taylor might be playing over him soon. I think he'd be great on another team. Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas. Yeah.
I think Dallas. I mean, I don't know why Dallas doesn't have Dameon Pierce. I like that one a lot. Last one again. Players who go to the Chiefs. This one's gonna happen.
Heifetz is going all in on this.
I don't actually. No, I'm not gonna go all in. But like, I actually think it makes sense. But the Giants. I think that Darius Slayton or Jalen Hyatt from the Giants would fix a lot of problems for Kansas City. And again, I don't think it's like, these guys are such a perfect fit for them as much as they're the best fit for what Kansas City will realistically want to give up, which again is what it's all about. Like Slayton's due $2.5 million. Darius Slayton's good. And I'll tell you exactly how good he is. Darius Slayton's the worst receiver available who would fix everything that Kansas City needs to happen. Like the Chiefs can win the Super Bowl if Darius Slayton's playing for them. And I think he just you know what I mean? And I think that he's the worst receiver that you can say that of without any hesitations about like, oh man, Justin Watson, all these guys. But I mean, Slayton, you just watch Thursday Night Football. Darius Slayton should have had 2 touchdowns on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
And like for 50 yards apiece.
Daniel Jones just short arming it like time and time again. Yeah.
Combined 30 yards of underthrows, but I think Slayton's right there. And then the flip side is Jalen Hyatt. Hyatt, I don't think would be doing anything Rashee Rice did. Hyatt's just pure field stretcher. He's really playing for the Giants right now. I really wonder if that's because Hyatt can't turn or Jones can't throw deep or probably both. But I think that's another, they call about Slayton. The Giants are like, we'll give you Jalen Hyatt. But I think the Chiefs, Slayton's just like perfect for them. So, and I don't think he would cost a ton, but to button this all up, I think if you guys had to pick someone on this list for the Chiefs to actually get, ranging from, Davante Adams at a third, but for like $12 million, to Amari Cooper for like a fourth for like a couple $1 million, but he's going to walk in 9 games, to Darius Slayton for like a sixth. Which of these do you think the Kansas City Chiefs should do, considering age and everything?
Craig, what do you think?
I think based on what the Chiefs have been able to do without a strong receiving core and with maybe Rashee Rice not being out for the year, I actually lean that they should do something cheaper, that they should go get like Darius Slayton or like Elijah Moore. I probably don't think the Jags are going to give up Christian Kirk, but I don't think they're going to, I don't think they need to go get like Amari Cooper. I think they will be fine getting a guy like Darius Slayton, who's like the Mike Evans of getting 700 yards every year, regardless of who the quarterback is.
I think Slayton's the safest one in terms of like he will be able to do what they need. But dude, I kind of do think they could fix Treylon Burks. I kind of think Treylon Burks, like,
I can fix him.
Yeah, you can fix him. It's the week 1 test too of the how many games would you need to see Treylon Burks play even a fraction of the Rashee Rice role till you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we let that happen. Because I think it's 2.
I think it's 2 passes, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
they did it again.
Yeah, just run some crossers with Mahomes. That'll be fine. Like Rashee Rice, everything looks like, I don't know, it looks like you're tying your shoelaces. Everything's just like across the left, across the right. You know what I mean?
I was asking you guys the other day, I'm like, why can't Sky Moore? Because I showed you guys a route chart of what Rashee Rice did in their last game when he had like 11 catches for 100-something yards, and it was all just like truly, it was just a bunch of crossing routes where he's settling into his zone and running after the catch. I'm like, why can't Sky Moore do this? And then as soon as Rashee Rice got hurt and Sky Moore came in and dropped that pass, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, now I get
right
it.
In the hands.
Dude,
Now I remember. It actually takes skill to play receiver. So. Anyways,
well, you guys heard the story that Brett Veach, the GM, apparently was heard like slamming his hand on the table when Sky Moore dropped that first pass. Like,
oh, really?
They heard a thud.
I mean, yeah.
Someone just, it was but yeah, first I think I've learned one lesson. If you drafted if we should put this as a memento tattoo for the real NFL draft. If you draft a receiver and they express interest in, I would like the number 1. Please. Like, I would like my number to be 1. Like, Malik Neighbors, like, hey, that guy's number's retired. Like, can you unretire it for me? I like that guy. If my receiver, like Sky Moore, asks for a cornerback number, like, you're like, I want to be number 24, please.
Like
you should trade that guy immediately. Like, Sky Moore asked to be a cornerback, basically, and he catches like one.
I don't understand why he hasn't changed his number yet. I mean, like, look, let's be honest. Let's just get right down to brass tacks. Like, your career hasn't gone great so far. Don't you want to start fresh? Everyone just makes fun of you for your number. I don't know. I just feel like the vibes would improve dramatically if he just went to whatever number it is, like 18 or something.
I'm also so upset we didn't nail this. Sky Moore would never have been a 2nd-round pick if his name wasn't Sky Moore.
100%.
If his name was Robert Woods, Sky Moore would have been a 5th-round pick.
Robert Woods.
I think Sky Moore likes it because when you look at the box score after, you see like number 24, 3 targets, 0 catches. You're like, oh, well, they must have like thrown to a backup running back. Oh, that must have been like a fullback or a safety they had or something. That's not a big deal. I think that's what he was doing.
Flip side, imagine if Ryan Williams, the Bama kid, was named Sky Moore. I think there would be religions devoted to him already.
What number was he? I forget.
Sky Moore?
No. What number is Ryan Williams right now?
Let's look it up.
I think, is he a 1?
2? I believe 2.
2.
I'm
2
amazed
is a good receiver number.
2.
I like 2. Who's 2? Is Amari Cooper 2?
DJ Moore.
Oh, DJ. Yeah.
We should rank. We should not even rank. Just sort receivers by numbers one day for Power Hour. Just like filter, like 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. Just see what comes up. All right. Before we get off trades, I do want to read one email from Sean.
Sean
writes, because we talked about how in the last show, we talked about on the Sunday show, we talked about how for It's Over, we're so back. And just a reminder, emails at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com on Sundays, or go to our Instagram and TikTok, Ringer Fantasy Football on Instagram. And we are going to post the comments, we're going to post the categories on Sundays, and you can comment with what nominate people you want us to talk about on Sunday. And Sean emailed in and said, we had talked about how Nick Sirianni for the Eagles and Doug Peterson for the Jaguars are both over. Like, those guys are toast.
Mm-hmm.
Sean says that instead of the Jags or Eagles firing their coaches, the Jags and Eagles should trade their head coaches, because the Jags need a weird new energy like Nick Sirianni, and the Eagles need an offensive coach who refuses to call plays like Doug Peterson. So send Peterson back to Philly and Sirianni to Jacksonville.
Why would the Jags want Sirianni, though?
What does he do?
They're gonna
what are you gonna do for us, pal?
Because he's just like gonna he's like he's a perfect interim coach where like
I'm
just gonna yell and not be the old
part
guy.
of the deal.
No, Dom's a Philly institution. He figuratively and literally knows where all the bodies are buried.
I just don't know why Jacksonville would want that.
Can Sirianni succeed without Big Dom? I don't know.
Well, maybe it'd be like 12th man on the field with no Big Dom. Sirianni's just gonna be out there playing you know what I mean? He'd make some tackles.
I'm not sure which fan base would be more upset. Probably Jacksonville.
Oh my God! All right, so you guys want to get to some fantasy court?
Yeah, let's do it. Definitely don't tell anyone about this thing that you're doing.
I don't really want to be handcuffed.
The definition of an object is a material thing that can be seen and touched. Stand to describe what an object is.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's incredible work by John Richter and everyone there. That was amazing. Yeah, so fantasy court's in session, baby. We have a case here with a little context needed, but we actually haven't talked about this in the show yet. But Adam Schefter reported this week that Christian McCaffrey's Achilles tendonitis in his right leg is now in both legs.
We've got another Achilles injury.
It's again, I'm a doctor. I'm the medical practitioner here, and so that's actually how the soft tissue injuries work. You know, they're contagious. They spread like the rot.
Totally.
Or like Grayscale in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And so
like gangrene.
He's supposed to be social distancing his legs, but it's hard to do that all day, every day. So I get it.
The flight to Germany, it's hard, it's hard to just do that the whole time. Spread eagle. So we have an email here from Nicholas. Nicholas comes here and says, I am hereby declaring a class action lawsuit against 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan. I would the entire 49ers organization.
Say no more. I'm in.
Yeah.
Say less, as they say.
But yeah, he basically says that the non-disclosure of misinformation around the Achilles injury to McCaffrey. McCaffrey was universally considered a top 5 and in most places first overall pick in fantasy drafts. People who are paid to research, write, and podcast about fantasy football told me to take him first overall, and maybe not the three of you, but still. Kyle gave multiple quotes stating that Christian McCaffrey would be ready to go and wouldn't be hindered come week 1 of the season. And the team disclosed McCaffrey is dealing with a minor calf injury up until right before the Niners week 1 game where they scratched McCaffrey with an Achilles injury. The injury seems to have always been an Achilles. We learn now that it's in both legs. It's spreading. And I would like damages of my fantasy football league dues and also the emotional distress of coming in last place and doing the punishment.
This is straight up fraud. This is the definition of fraud. They're misleading investors.
Oh, yeah. Oh, like Enron. It's like fantasy Enron.
Yeah. They're trying to pump up, like pump and dump with the stock, Shanahan, classic pump and dump right here.
Shanahan's getting a little tricky now. He's gotten close to a couple Super Bowls. Can't quite get there. He's going to start cheating.
Yeah.
That's going on the sex cut people make. The classic pump and dump.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know. Like, yeah, I'm all in on this. Is there something that we need to do? Where do I sign?
I think that the class action thing's funny because I do think that like 10% of people who play fantasy football, like anyone who had McCaffrey this year, is literally going to be scarred forever about taking players who are hurt. Like that little questionable, like little Q designation in the draft room. No one's ever going to take anyone who's hurt ever again because I think now people are going to realize teams report the injury reports really strictly during the season. They have no obligation to be honest about it in August. And I think now we're going to realize that we'll never be able to trust any of that ever again.
I also think this year marks the beginning of the calf being the most problematic muscle in the NFL.
Cancel the calf.
Yeah, the calf is the worst. That is clearly the muscle you should be most worried about. If you see a tweaked calf, a strained calf, questionable with a calf, I'm taking hamstring every day of the week over calf now. The closer you get to the Achilles, the worse it is.
Wait, what about groin? I feel like groin's tough too.
I'd take groin over calf any day.
Oh,
totally agree.
Okay.
Yeah, hamstring's like a misdemeanor, but yeah, I think the calf it's like felony.
The hamstring is connected to the Achilles. I mean, it's essentially just saying Achilles.
You mean calf?
It's literally fraud. You basically
the calf's connected to the Achilles.
That's what I meant. Sorry, the calf is connected to the Achilles. You should legally be required to say calf/Achilles every time.
While we're on this,
you must disclose that.
Yes.
As part of your offer, your IPO or whatever.
Saller House, I don't remember who. One of them said we should rename the hamstring. I thought that was a good idea. Like it just sounds so silly. It sounds whimsical. A hamstring, but it's a very serious part of your leg.
It is a whimsical muscle.
I pulled my hamstring. And it's like no, it's.
I think you can keep the name hamstring. I think what you need to rebrand is pull. Pull sounds benign. You should say actually, a hamstring pull is really a minor tear.
I ripped my hammy.
Micro tour.
Yeah.
Micro tour your hamstring.
Or just say a hamstring tear, grade
Hamstring's off the bone.
Off the bone is like the worst.
That makes it sound really bad.
Off the bone, yeah. Ooh.
And yeah, if it's half torn, you say there's still some meat on the bone.
Wait, are we doing an actual fantasy court here or what?
Oh yeah, no, I just wanted to announce a fantasy court.
Okay.
So we can get to more cases. Okay.
We're going to send out mailers trying to get signatures.
Yeah.
We're taking this thing national.
This next case here is from James.
Jim.
Okay, Jimmy writes email. I'm not going to lie.
Jimmy writes email.
Robert in Game of Thrones, and he's like, titles. Fill it in later. I'm like, details. He tells us about the work league. James mad that George and Wyatt made the trade. That's the point. George and Wyatt made a trade.
AJ Brown and Mark.
Wait, okay. You're flying through this. What's going on here?
Pretend people are listening to a podcast and then explain what this is.
Pretend that most people can't see you and are doing something else while listening to this on 1.5x speed.
I'm skipping his very long introduction, and I'm saying George and Wyatt made a trade, and James is mad. And the trade was AJ Brown and Mark Andrews for Dalton Kincaid and Tank Bigsby. Admittedly, not a great deal.
Yeah.
Apparently, Wyatt doesn't know that much about football.
Okay.
And I'm like, titles, details. I'm like, and James.
I don't know that quote, by the way.
Oh.
Does anyone?
Is that like Game of Thrones? Yeah, I know
it's
that.
Game of Thrones when he's like,
it's etc. It's like yada yada yada.
It's etc.
I understand the meaning of it, but I'm always baffled by Heifetz just yanking quotes out of his ass from 8 season-long television shows. Maybe
yeah. All right. I feel like I either have to explain it now or never bring it up ever again.
What?
No, it's never.
Titles. I feel like it's played out. We've said it twice now, and we can move on. Yeah,
fine. Okay. Anyway, the point is with trade, they want to veto the trade, and I would like to take this moment to establish our precedent on all the emails we get every week about trade vetoes, because this court has settled the matter, and I'm curious if you guys still uphold our precedent, which is get over it. Like the trade vetoes, like this is an AJ Brown trade. He wants to veto it. When AJ Brown was traded in real life to the Philadelphia Eagles, they didn't ask the Giants, you think this is fair? Like how long have we all been alive? There's been one trade vetoed in the real sports leagues where there's a lot more at stake in our entire life. It was the Chris Paul trade because the league owned one of the other teams. That's the only time there's ever been a veto. Almost if you have to veto a trade and you're like, well, I don't think it's fair. Well, it's not your team. Get over it. Sorry.
I completely agree. We don't adjudicate stupidity.
Yeah, this is America. Freedom means people can be dumb and do dumb stuff with their stuff.
Okay. Also, you're saying that despite 2 weeks ago, a guy gets drunk and drops his players, and you're like, well, that's the definition of stupidity. But okay.
No, but there's stupidity, and then there's also like.
Craig's gonna bring that up every single time for the rest of eternity. Yeah, we don't believe in vetoes.
Well, vetoes are for literally when like we always say like collusion is oh, if someone if someone owes someone money, obviously it's collusion, and they make your fantasy trade. I think the thing that actually happens more often is you have 9 people, and you're trying to get a 10th guy, and so someone's like, "Here's my friend Greg," and no one knows Greg. No one has Greg's number. No one's ever met Greg.
Every league's got a Greg.
And then Greg stops checking his team. And then like the next season, everyone forgets Greg's in the league. He doesn't set his lineup for 8 weeks. And then Greg sends all his good players to the friend that brought him in the league. That you can veto because that's bad faith in the sense that he doesn't care about the league. He's not like, he will never check this thing ever again. You can veto that. You can veto, but otherwise it's like, if you're upset about a trade that got made, you should just start texting the person that you think is dumb and you should make a trade with them yourself. So that's our precedent on all vetoes.
I agree. Shake that guy down.
Yeah. All right. We have another fantasy court here. This is really family court from Peter.
Okay. Petey.
Big Pete. I have a family league. A younger player in our league just initiated a trade for Tyreek Hill, and he decided to give up Dak Prescott and T. Higgins and then talked a bunch of shit. And then I asked him if he knew something I didn't know about Tua Tagovailoa coming back, and the 14-year-old kid insisted that he read that he definitely was. And then 2 hours later, this 14-year-old kid begins begging me to veto the trade as the commissioner. Meanwhile, my 7-year-old daughter thinks that he should be forced to learn his lesson. What would you guys do?
Where do you think I land on this?
Yeah, the 7-year-old's right.
100%.
Let him, yeah. Oh, I changed my mind. It's like,
he got buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Sorry you read some comment on Reddit that said Tua was coming back.
Yeah.
This is a good life lesson.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
Seriously.
Yeah. Can't believe
Also,
everything you read.
I love
Especially
that the
when it's on Google.
Get ready to get last place, buddy.
Yeah. I love this 7-year-old has the sharpest.
Get ready to learn last place.
All
right.
Find your local Denny's, buddy. Because you're going to be living in it for a day.
All right. Now we have a fantasy court. This is really a fantasy court martial.
Oh
boy.
From Evan.
I feel like there's different rules in the military tribunals and whatnot.
Yeah. And yeah. NCIS. I'm always learning. Yeah. It's different.
You watch
different
NCIS?
Stuff. No, I don't. I kind of made that up.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I don't even know what NCIS stands for.
Yeah, I don't either.
Wow.
Crime investigative.
Naval Crime Investigative Service.
Naval Criminal Investigative Service. Is that NCIS stands? Naval Criminal Investigative Service.
Wow, it is.
Cool.
Wow. Whew. Anyway. So they're just you know what? We don't have time for that. It's a whole anyway.
They're investigating naval crimes.
Yeah. That sounds kind of funny.
Well, now the NCIS has brought this case before us. Evan says I'm in a league with my old naval buddies.
Maritime law.
Sorry, go ahead. Law. My friend
Crook. Sorry.
What is they from?
Arrested Development. People will get that one.
Evan says my friend that I served with initiated a really bush league move today in our fantasy league. He drafted Christian McCaffrey, so of course my friend's team is cooked. But 2 weeks ago, my friend was proposed to trade to send Christian McCaffrey away for Raheem Mostert and Stephon Diggs. And my friend still had hope for McCaffrey, so he did not accept. But this week, after news about Christian McCaffrey's ramen noodle tendons, my friend started panicking. Yeah, after going 0-4. Yeah, exactly. It's stunning. The rot.
It's setting.
But here's the thing, because it's a Navy league, some of these guys are still on active duty and on ships, so they can't check their teams every day. And so the guy who tried to trade with him also never canceled the trade because, he's serving on an aircraft carrier. And so today, my friend texted me and says, I'm about to shock the world, and he accepted the trade, sending away McCaffrey for Diggs, even though it's completely different now. And Evan says, to me, this is unforgivable. Navy social groups, if you don't know, are already pretty toxic and ruthless. We're just sort of built that way. But this is next level. So we're thinking about keel hauling him, which...
Keel hauling?
What's that?
I had to look that up, and I already actually forgot. Keel hauling...
Oh, is that where they drag him along the keel?
They
attach a rope to him and then drag him under the boat and around.
Oh yeah, wow, that is what it is. Anyway,
drag him under the boat.
I don't think they're literally going to do this.
No, I think it was a joke.
If they tried to do that on a modern naval ship, that he would for sure die.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they didn't die back in the day, but it's like the old school version of like a Code Red, Craig.
Yeah, walking by I think it's throw him over the plank. Anyway, I think this is part of me is like this is a pretty bad veto, but also part of me is like, I don't know. I feel like this is ocean law. Anything kind of goes. Oceans are lawless.
Wait, we've had a very similar version of this before. Basically, where it's ultimately the manager's job to take the trade off or whatever, like to cancel the trade, right?
Yeah.
So we let it stand? I feel like we let it stand, but
I think
the etiquette should be to
speaking,
check.
I think
normal.
Go ahead.
No, well, in normal situations, if you leave a trade going for that long, we're like, that's your fault. But like, if you are serving active duty on a naval,
these are your brothers in arms.
I think I'm willing to make an exception here. Also, in general, I think as the commissioner of a league, you should set it up so trade requests only last for a week.
Yeah.
Letting them just sit there for weeks and weeks and weeks doesn't make any sense. That you can set like an expiration date for trades. I think like 5-7 days makes sense until the new week, and then you have to request it again, which I think is totally fair. I think I'm actually okay stepping in here and vetoing this.
I think this is because it's maritime law. It's these guys they go long distances or whatever, long time periods without having any cell service. I think it makes sense to step in.
Do you guys think that in a couple of years we're going to see an NCIS episode where there's like they're investigating it, someone who got keel-hauled, and then it'll turn out that actually that guy just got keel-hauled because he stole Christian McCaffrey from someone in his league?
Yeah, I do think that's going to happen.
Okay. All right. Fantasy court. Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com if you have more fantasy courts. Trade vetoes. The answer is probably no. But yeah, if more of your friends are serving in active duty and I kind of like the military leagues. Tell us more about the military leagues. Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. I feel like it's ruthless. Also, the ocean's lawless. The New York Times did this whole like open oceans thing. It's crazy. There's Wild West out there. Crazy stuff going on in the oceans.
Yeah.
No one
I
cares.
can only
Okay,
imagine.
We'll move on. All right. Emails. All right, fine. Greg's going to kill me. Emails. I have to issue a correction. This is from Brian.
Yeah.
Bright guy.
On the trivia episode, I asked how many moons there were. I got it wrong. Brian says NASA says Jupiter has 95 moons, not 195 moons. So Dontavian Wicks should go to DK and not.
No, I want the credit for the trivia, not Dontavian Wicks.
Well, I mean
I'm winning the war, not the battle.
Here.
Yeah.
Look, you get a free dinner for trivia, not for the waiver wire picks.
Yeah.
Also,
Stat correction on the trivia.
You said 100. Your guess was 190. Your guess was 200 moons.
Yeah.
And it was 195. Curious how
curious. Indeed. Yeah. What a coincidence. What a weird number to come.
5 away is kind of like the perfect amount to kind of get people off the scent while making it seem as though it was just kind of a random educated guess.
I was also thinking to myself today, Craig, that I don't think Heifetz is, when he's asked for trivia lately, he hasn't done the whole thing where it's like you're supposed to write your answer in no color or white or whatever, so we can't see it. I don't know.
People still do it, which you would know if you ever open the email.
Sometimes I do see the emails, and the answer is literally in the email preview. It's unavoidable. So maybe you're going with that question. That's all I'm saying.
You're getting incepted, I think, is what's actually happening here.
Yeah.
It's subconscious.
Oh, it's conscious.
That's actually
Heifetz is so upset with us right now.
No, I'm not upset. I think the real answer is usually I do it far enough in advance that I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
Don't remember it, implying that you did look at the answer?
Depending on ever since the goddamn elephant muscle fiasco of 40,000 muscles, I'm like, yeah, some of this shit's got to get fact checked now.
I'm actually on Heifetz's side on this one because we've done the same trivia questions multiple times and we're still not any closer on them.
I think there's
just a lot of numbers in the world, all right?
We need a neutral fourth party. We need Kai or Carlos or somebody.
Someone needs to step in.
Corroborate these answers.
Save us from ourselves.
What the entire internet's for.
Clearly not. The internet is getting worse.
You got mad. Look, there were I said 40,000 muscles. That there were 17. I'm doing my best here, man.
Google Gemini is literally destroying the Monday show.
Google Gemini. Oh my god. All right, next. Yes, fine. DK gets the stack right.
Yes.
Next email here is from Bridget.
Bridget.
We talked about last episode. We thanked Train. Did you guys know that the lead singer of Train lives in Issaquah, Washington, and his house is currently on the market?
Oh, I did not know that. Is he from there?
His house is, I meant to save the link.
You don't just move to Issaquah.
What does that mean?
Just Google Train lead singer house, and it'll come up on, I think, Zillow Gone Wild or Zillow something like that.
What is Zillow Gone Wild?
The YouTube channel.
Is it just like people's
subscribe to Ringer NFL, not
people's
Zillow Gone
weird
Wild,
ass houses?
That sounds great.
But
I see this. Yeah.
Is it big?
It's pretty crazy. Pat Monahan, oh my god, it's huge.
DK, how close is Issaquah to you?
A couple hours. I live in Bellingham, for the records. Issaquah is probably, 30 minutes from Seattle. It's across the bridge on the east side. Something like that. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. I just don't think it's somewhere that you randomly end up, typically. You have to have some sort of connection to it.
I have to address this. Apparently there's in the YouTube comments, people are thinking that I cheated trivia, which is ironic because I actually have lost quite a bit. Now I feel the need to address this at some point. It's like a scandal.
Issue a statement.
Are you going to step away?
Wait, he said, now I feel the need to address this. And then he just stared at us.
Played me off like, should I do the Eric Adams and hold a press conference? I've done nothing wrong. I deny all charges.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah, you guys will hear from my fantasy attorneys. I'm not going to recuse any cases. I'm not going to. Yeah.
This is it libel or slander? Libel? How do you say labelle?
Libel, not LaBelle.
LaBelle.
Patty
That's
LaBelle.
the French way of saying it, guys.
Like Patty LaBelle.
I'm being bougie.
If
like
I had
Heifetz.
said that, you guys would have lost your mind.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. It is a double standard. We fully acknowledge that, Heifetz.
LaBelle and Slander.
Libel.
Libel's written, right? Slander is spoken.
Sure.
Yeah. Only thing I got left is, did you guys hear about the Kansas State burrito guy?
No.
Don't know what that is.
We got an email. I'm gonna leave you anonymous, but you know who you are. Anyway, they summed it up really well, which is last week before the Kansas State BYU football game, a fan on Twitter said that if Kansas State loses to BYU, I will shove a beefy 5-layer burrito up my ass.
Oh, I did see this. I heard about it.
And then BYU won 38-9, and then BYU's Twitter account afterward tweeted a photo of the game and said, "Live Moss." And then
did the guy who did it like delete his account and move?
So that happened with the Florida State week 1 with the guy who said he'd eat horse shit, and then he he packed up and left. This person,
he scrubbed all his social media forever.
Well, this person tweeted a video of buying a beefy 5-layer burrito, putting it in the freezer.
Oh.
And then 3 days later.
Wait, was that required? Was that a part of the deal? He had to freeze it?
No, but I think
he has to put it up his butt.
Would you do it? Yeah.
What are you I mean, I would certainly try with it unfrozen first.
Well, maybe they tried and didn't go well because a few days later,
Craig, what's the expression you use? The rope something?
Well, it's like Veep.
Pushing rope.
Veep. It's like
push and rope.
No,
shoving a marshmallow in a keyhole.
Okay, but like who's monitoring this? Like,
well, it's integrity. It's like Veep. It's like you can't use a croissant as a dildo. Doesn't work and it makes a mess.
Okay. This guy's
but anyway, so this Saturday at 10:30 in the morning, this guy tweeted a picture of himself doing it. He put a brown bag over his head for anonymity, like the Lions, and he did it.
He shoved an entire burrito up his ass.
Yeah, he did it.
Did you watch him do it?
Well, not entire. No, it's just the photo. It's protruding.
So he just had to get it in there. He didn't
we got to be careful here. This is live.
He did not have to immerse the burrito fully inside of his body.
No, it's not like one of those X-rays you see of which is like like a toy car or something. No, it's just
that was on Jackass. Yeah.
How big was the burrito?
Taco Bell burrito.
Probably kind of like a small one.
This is where Craig's exposed for having never eaten Taco Bell in his life.
I've eaten Taco Bell. All right, how dare you?
That's slander. Libel. Libel.
That's slander.
LaBelle.
Patty LaBelle.
You can't. You just said libel.
I know. I did that on purpose.
I was like, wait, is he? Wow, he's ahead of the game.
Let's go home. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Kai and Carlos, for producing this episode. Thank you, John, and everyone behind the scenes, and Jack and Austin, and so many people who do this. Subscribe to the Ringer NFL YouTube channel. Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, Ringer Fantasy Football, TikTok, Ringer Fantasy Football. Thank you, everyone, and of course, thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Billie Holiday.
Okay, why? Is he on your mind?
No, I panicked.
Okay, that's fine. I panicked.
Sometimes, I'll start thinking about it a few minutes early because I remember that I have to do this. Do you guys remember how early on when I first started doing this, I would always be surprised about it for like a year straight? I'm like,
you said crap. Jay-Z and Taylor Swift like 7 times in like 3 months. Yeah.
Nowadays, I usually try and plan ahead, but I forgot in this specific case, and so I just thought of it. I don't know.
Actually, Billie Holiday's a lady, right?
I mean, I kind of teed you up for Patty LaBelle, but
that's true. Yes,
Billie
Billie
Holiday
Holiday's like a jazz musician.
Man or woman?
Woman. Yeah.
Woman.
Yeah.
Okay. This is when you pulled out. Who was the jazz musician that you pulled out a long time ago and you loved him?
Oh,
he had a short name. It was like Milk
Stan
Plum.
Getz.
Stan Getz.
Yeah, that was
like
good.
Milk Plum.
That was deep. Yeah, that was a deep cut.
Stan Getz.
You were so mad at me that I hadn't heard of Stan Getz.
Because you were adamant that he was more popular on Spotify than we thought. And I believe he was, right?
He was more popular on Spotify than we thought, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are you just don't know any jazz musicians.
Girl
apparently.
from Ipanema, 208 million streams on Spotify.
Yeah. Very famous song. I'm sure you've heard it before.
Girl from Ipanema
heard it now.
goes walking.
Craig, sing it again.
Can't name a Billie Holiday song.
Richter says she was a jazz singer. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you name a Billie Holiday tune?
Me? No.
No, DK.
Gloomy Sunday.
No.
Did you just look that up?
It's on Google. I Googled it.
Her picture
Gemini?
on Wikipedia is her with a dog. You don't see that too often. She's hanging with her dog named Mister.
Name Mister.
Great name for a
I just
dog.
love that.
Mister.
Who decided that? Was it like her estate? It was like Mister needs to be in the Wikipedia photo.
Well, no, it's a public. I agree. That's good.
Creative Commons, baby.
Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com if you have other either really good Wikipedia photos that we should know of, like funny famous people, or great names for dogs. We'll take either.
How do you decide what photo gets put in a Wikipedia profile?
All right. So Roger Sherman actually wrote an
You don't get to decide, pal.
for the Ringer.
But who does?
Well, it's the people. It's the people
that are
like it has to be.
editing
But there's
That's your
checks and
fair use
balances,
photo.
right? You can't do
All right.
anything.
No, it's the Wild West, baby.
Are we gonna do those now? Okay, so if you go to an NBA player, like pick Karl Anthony Towns, he just got to the Knicks.
Yeah.
So you go to his Wikipedia. It's not like some like nice headshot of him. It's like someone took this photo and put it on the internet. So it's like, oh, you look at Towns, it's like him shooting. Someone took that from like the second deck. Like that's just someone put that on the internet.
Yeah,
like it's all
like
fair
a digital
use
camera.
but is it
Yeah,
like
it's not like Getty Images?
is like the goodwill of the people at Wikipedia making sure that it's not like an embarrassing, ridiculous
Yeah,
photo?
there's like editors. There's mods.
Right, like they're not just
they're
going to let
moderators.
if I uploaded a burrito instead of Karl Anthony Towns, like they would take that down.
Yes, they would. Here, look, Roger. Look, if you Google the Ringer, Wikipedia's best worst NBA photos are modern art. And if you look, and like there are certain players where like they're not famous enough. They're famous enough to have a Wikipedia article, but they're not famous enough that no one's taken a picture of them.
The picture's like
So-
out of focus.
Yeah, so it's like they're like in the back somewhere. Like there's no photos of them that are fair use on the internet. So like look at
Who am I supposed to look up? Yeah.
Abdur Rahim. Abdur Rahim. Sharif Abdur. Oh no, they changed it after he wrote their article. Damn, it's all right. There's a bunch. Joey Graham, Shandon Anderson. They can't find photos of his face. All right, I think that we should probably end the show.
I still
This
love that.
picture of of Joey Graham is just like blurry and pixelated.
Can't.
It's pretty good actually.
Oh wow, this is bad. Nothing beats
It's like scratching his neck.
nothing beats Cloyce Box just being an animated photo. It's just
a
a
painting.
straight up
Sports
drawing.
card? Painting.
Uh,
Oh my god. All right. Goodbye.